Number 1. Someone impersonated my sister and invited me to the shadiest part of Los Angeles. I'm writing this on the very first days of October 2024. Last year, I started law school in Los Angeles. I have never lived in a big city before, and I was really excited to be in a massive city with over 4 million people. Ever since I was little, I always knew I had a half-sister in LA. But my parents had this weird anger towards her that always made it feel like a taboo topic. Of course, I had looked her up on social media, and I knew what she looked like. But that was about all. We had never actually met. She was never that active on social media, so there wasn't a lot that I could see. Out of nowhere, one day, in my first year of law school, I got a friend request on Facebook from my sister. Her profile seemed legitimate. She had Facebook friends, and her profile picture looked like her. She sent me a message inviting me to a little diner party at the park with her friends. We could finally meet at each other for the first time. I was new to LA, and I still am, and I had no idea which parts of the city to avoid at night. I was so excited about that idea, but I had a lot of anxiety about it too. It would be nice if we met, totally clicked, and became besties for life. But what if we ended up sobbing like we were in some dramatic movie scene? What if I tried to talk to her, and she just didn't click with me, and she started showing me an attitude, or worse? What if it's all going well until we have some kind of disagreement? Someone said something hurtful, and then we were both crying in front of everyone. Honestly, if she had suggested a cozy little bakery for desserts instead, I would have gone. But going to a park with other people didn't feel right. I thought it was like such a precious moment that I didn't want to have in front of all these other people. I couldn't bring myself to go. I didn't want to risk having a meltdown in front of other people. I was worried about how messy it would get. I was worried about how messy it could get. A few weeks later, I googled that park just to see what it was like. Maybe we could meet up there together, just one-on-one. That's when I learned something was wrong. I won't say the name of the park, but anyone who has lived in LA for long will tell you that it's not a safe place for girls to be having a dinner party at night. That area surrounding that park has very high violent crime rates. It's controlled by gangs. Even people who do illegal business in that park are forced to pay a tax to the gang in exchange for being left alone. So now I was really concerned and curious. I actually tried to get a hold of my sister myself. She was an undergrad at the time, a local college. I had a friend who went to her school. I asked my friend to reach out to her on campus and ask her if she'd be okay with meeting us. They connected, and the three of us met at my friend's house. It was great. We got along so well. My friend was also very happy to do that for us. The three of us had so much fun. We weren't bustling in tears, but we let out a few. We had dinner, we watched a movie, and we spent the night at my friend's house. When I told my sister about the whole thing, she said that she hadn't used Facebook since high school. So clearly, someone was impersonating her. I would have told her to report the fake account, but it had already been deleted. She knew she had been impersonated on social media, though. Another one of her friends had been scammed by someone pretending to be her. It was some scheme involving fake concert tickets or something like that. Someone had been impersonating my sister. They knew I was in town, and they literally tried to lure me into one of the most dangerous parts of LA at night. I have no idea what their motives were. I don't know if I even want to find out. Meeting my sister after all these years was a beautiful thing, but the whole backdrop was terrifying. Number 2. Creepy foreigner in a small French country town. I'm writing these lines at the beginning of October in the year 2024. At the time I'm writing this, the story that happened to me was 5 days ago. It was on a Saturday, and for context, I'm a 16-year-old French boy. Sorry in advance if I make grammar mistakes. So I was with my friend this Saturday in my little French hometown, casually hanging out at the border of the town for a whole hour. My friend here is a 17-year-old girl. We were sitting on big rocks behind the kindergarten school of our town, right in front of the beet field around 8 p.m. The sky was starting to turn dark. Nothing has ever really happened in our town since we live in it, except recently when a dad stabbed his daughter and wife 40 times, but it has nothing to do with my story. Note that there are many foreigners since it's a kind of a lost country town close to Paris. So I was sitting with my friend eating stuff like we casually do when we hang out, when suddenly I spotted a man with a beanie. He had his hands in the sweatshirt and was directly walking towards us. He was way too close for my friend and me to get up and walk away. He comes right in front of us and starts talking English. My friend doesn't speak English, so she didn't really know what was happening at the time. So this guy comes right in front of me when he noticed that I was able to speak English and tries to shake my hand, which I deny the approach. Note that he didn't look like he was drunk or under drugs. The weird guy starts talking to me and he points out the field that was behind my back, which means that if I wanted to look at it, I would have needed to turn back to him. And then he says very insistent, "Is that cabbage?" I responded yes, but he wasn't satisfied by my response, since he was trying to get me to look behind me. However, there was literally the other part of the field that was my line of sight at my left. He tried to get me to look again and again, which was kind of stressing because this guy was at like less than a meter away from me, which means that he could have done everything he wants to me. Then he told me some incoherent stuff like, "My driver told me there was cabbage," or "I asked people, they didn't understand." Right after saying that, he pats my shoulder, goes behind me, and crouches at the border of the field. He tells me to come to see if it was cabbage, when I clearly told him many times that it was cabbage, even though it was not. I was just trying to get rid of this creep, but it kinda looked like cabbage. Right when I see that I'm out of his range, I say to my friend to take her back and start running. At first she thought I was joking, but when she saw me running, she changed her mind. We were like 20 meters away from him, and he started walking towards us, but rapidly disappeared behind the kindergarten school. My friend and I were both really unsettled and quickly wanted to go home. We said goodbye to each other. And when we split it in 2 different directions, I needed to go by the elementary school that was right next to the kindergarten school to get home. Suddenly, I see the creep coming from the road that was between the field and the kindergarten school with his phone on and in his hands. I quickly turned around and went at my friend's house with her, waiting for his father to drive me home. Later that night, my friend and I were talking and we suggested that it may be some kidnapping or organs trafficking stuff, since it was the first time we saw an alone foreigner that didn't speak a single word in French. The fact that he got up and escaped quickly when we started running hinted me on the fact that it was just some pretext to get me to move away from my friend. Maybe he had texted some guy waiting in the car for them to kidnap my friend or me, since the creep was clearly trying to make us lose time with this cabbage thing. Later that night, I told what happened to a friend that lives in the same town as us, and he told us that this guy was hanging around the town with a weird behavior that day. We were really unsettled and scared after that event, but now we are completely good, and I'm wondering if we are doing too much about that guy, even though my intuition really told me to get away from him. If anyone has anything to say to help us clear this, if it looks like some already known cases that already happened to someone, please do let us know. To this creep that made me feel like I was being trapped in a horror movie, let's not meet again. Number 3. Not all guests are welcome. Hello everyone. I'd like to start off by saying I'm writing these lines in the year 2021, during the very first days of September. It feels weird, but in a positive way, to get this off my chest. I know you will probably be watching this content at some other time, so I mentioned the date of my post at the beginning to help you gain some perspective of the time being, on the time this was written, as well as the time that this happened to me. One more time, not all guests are welcome. So I have been working for an independent hotel for just over 5 years now. We are the number 1 rated hotel in our city. I'm proud of it. I mostly work in housekeeping, but I have done some time at the front desk as well. I love my job, and I have always said that my bosses are great. Now, being a housekeeper, I've seen some things. I've seen a room where someone snuck in their dog, kitten, and chicken. We do not allow pets. I once had a room that I was cleaning as a stayover that had tripods set up around the bed, professional camera equipment cases, an adult-size pacifier on site, and XL-size children's diapers. The 2 people that were in that room were in their early 20s. I even had a room once that we had to call the cops on for a raid because we found meth. They found a lot of drugs and guns in that room. But today is the first time I have ever actually felt scared to be in a guest room. A man in the next room over catches me at my supply cart. He is said to be staying for several days and tells me, "You can go ahead and clean my room now. I'm going down for breakfast." Excellent. I love getting my stayovers done early on. It makes things easier for the people working laundry. The sooner we get the dirty laundry down to them. So I pop over into this room, opening it up, propping the door open with a stopper like we always do. The first thing I notice is that he has around 20 prescription bottles lined up on one of the 2 beds, along with insulin and needles. I'm nosy, I'll admit it, and I wanted to see what he was on. Oddly, it was only 2 different types of medication for all 20 bottles. About 2/3 were a diabetes medication, and the rest were a cholesterol medication. That was a little weird that he has so many bottles on the same meds. But whatever. Anyway, I go to make the bed and see that some of the bedding has been stained. Knowing now I'll have to change all the bedding now instead of just being able to turn down the sheets and blanket. So I leave the room, closing it behind me to go get the linens I need, and then head right back to the room. I prop the door open again and head to set the clean linens on the desk chair. When I see out of the corner of my eye 2 notes sitting on the TV armoire, it wouldn't mean anything except I caught the word "kill" scrawled on it. I dropped the linens. I took a closer look. What I read on the first note made my blood run cold. It said, "You don't have to forgive her. You just can't kill her. You are here to take money and alcohol away from you. Get over having to kill her, and you can safely leave." My heart was pounding. My eyes went to the second note, which had just looked like a to-do list at first glance, but in the end, it made my stomach churn. Spray and wash. Apply for Medicare. Insubordination. The soul is healed by being with children. Bank card. Follow up. Inheritance. Savings. Kwai Pop. 10500. Map Montana. There will be a day of reckoning. Did you tell Mom what I said? How did Bev get my address? It was too much. I quickly snapped pictures of them on my phone so I could show my boss why I would not clean this room. I left the room quickly, closing it up behind me. As the door closes, I turn and see the man just 10 feet away from me, coming back to his room. My heart is in my throat, but I manage to smile and I tell him, I need more supplies. I'll be back to your room in a bit." I take off straight for the elevator. Having noticed our maintenance man waiting for the slow transport, in a hushed tone, I tell him what I found, and he sees I'm shaken. Not a normal state for me. He writes down with me, and I go straight to my boss and I tell her that for the first time in all these years, I am not comfortable being in a guest's room. I show her the pictures, and her face is still and pale. She goes to the front desk and asks our general manager for a minute of her time, and brings her into the office to show her. She agreed this was not a safe situation, and took her maintenance man with her to go inform the man he had 1 hour to get his belongings and leave the hotel. And he was not welcome back. I spent a few minutes in the laundry room trying to calm down. Then my boss went back up with me to the floor until the man was officially out of the hotel. I don't know who Bev is. I don't know who the woman is that he didn't feel he needed to forgive. But man in room 422, let's never meet again. Number 4. Gym Stalker. So, I'm a man. I'm 18 years old. I'm writing this in July 2023, and I'm a gym goer. One night I was at the gym around 10 p.m. because I worked all day and my gym stays open all night. I was casually working out, as I always have. Out of nowhere, this very short Hispanic guy comes out of nowhere and asks me what I'm doing later. Thinking this is very odd, I decided to ignore him and act like I couldn't hear him because of my headphones. He kept asking me but eventually left. When I finished my workout, I went into the locker room to get my keys and check myself out in the mirror. As I entered the locker room, the guy was sitting on the bench staring at me, like watching my every move. So I skip looking at myself in the mirror and grab my keys and go to the bathroom quick. I can see he starts to follow me as I head to the urinal, so I quickly resort to a stall. When I left the stall, he is still staring from the urinal. I ignore him and I start leaving the gym, but he still follows me. I ignore him and I start leaving the gym, but he still follows me. Once again, he asks me what I'm doing tonight and what my name is, but this time I couldn't pretend to not hear him, so I just said, "Sorry man, I'm not interested," and quickly got to my car and drove away. A week later, I work again this day, so I was at the gym around 10 p.m. and everything was normal. Was working out, saw some friends, and then I see the same guy from a week ago staring at me whilst laying against an empty wall. I tried to ignore him, but every machine or workout I do, he starts to follow me. I stayed by some friends so he would hopefully not come near me. When those friends left, so did he. So I thought I was safe. I get my stuff together and head out around 11:30. At this point my phone had died. I was a little worried, but then I started to freak out because when I approached my car, there was a rose in my truck's handle, my driver's side. I actually started to run and went back to get assistance from someone working, because I didn't feel like dying that day. After removing it, I sped home as fast as I could. Then a few days later, I had a normal workout and didn't see him till I went to my truck. He was parked right next to me, standing in front of his car. When I got in, I could see him watching me the whole time. Now, every time I go late at night, he's waiting for me and asking me weird questions. I talked to the workers about this, and they said he's not from here, and he's just trying to be nice. But I can't help but wonder why he doesn't get the hint when I tell him no all the time. I wake up hours early in the morning to go to the gym now, but when I go late, he is still there watching me every time. What should I do? Another time there was a rose in my windshield and a phone wire wrapped about my handle. Here's a picture. Then more recently, he added me on Snapchat. I don't know how he knows my name or how he knew what car was mine in the first place. Someone suggested that at some point I might meet him in a public and safe area, which frightens me, honestly. I told him loudly to leave me alone in front of everybody, and I escalated it with the gym manager, told my friends and family about it, and like someone suggested, we check my truck for trackers. I don't see him much anymore, but when I do go late, sometimes he's there. He hasn't come up to me recently, but somehow added me on Snapchat. I blocked him immediately. I've told management, but there is no proof of him doing those things to my car, as they were out of view of cameras. I try to go to another gym sometimes, but can't always. Update, by the way. Update. I can assure you I'm fine now. I have switched gyms and also got in touch with the other gym's manager and told them he has been banned. I never intended to receive all the feedback, this much feedback. And thank you to everyone for your concerns and helpful information. This will hopefully be my last addition to this post. So, creepy gym stalker, let's not meet again.